the assumption by almost everybody has been that climate change would be linear. It would be kind of gentle, and we'd have plenty of time, and we could have timetables, and we could plan things, we could have endless meetings. So the discovery that climate change is abrupt, sudden, irregular, produces extreme climate events now rather than in 20 or 30 years' time came as a nasty shock. And the reason for it is that when you have something like the IPCC reports, they take a series of different proposals, different climate records, and they average them. And if you average them, then you actually end up excluding the abrupt events. So there's a kind of statistical basis for why people didn't realize what's happening. Now they realize it's happening. It puts extra pressure on the politicians and on the military to act. And it's particularly important for the military because they work on 30-year timescales. So if you say climate change is going to produce serious security issues in 30 years' time, well, all right, they're sort of interested at the margin. But if you say climate change is abrupt and you may have to deal with a major crisis, such as, for instance, the flooding of New York or the flooding of Shanghai, then the military suddenly pay attention. So the fact of abruptness is crucial for the early involvement of the military. The member state governments and the Commission have always been very careful to try and exclude the European Parliament as far as possible from foreign policy issues. I think that's a mistake because the main reason for European integration nowadays is the defence of Europe's interests in a global world. And therefore it's exactly that message that we need to communicate to the electors of Europe. And if we don't allow that message to get through the European Parliament, we undermine the whole popular support for our position on European integration as well as on climate change. So given those constraints, Parliament has traditionally been there to poke and encourage and pursue the different bits of our foreign policy institutions. Now we have this wonderful new shiny European External Action Service that spent forever organising itself, has a huge budget, and yet seems to me to have dropped the ball on this particular subject. When I say dropped the ball, they actually lost the dossier. All right, so here is a really important dossier on the relationship between environment, the military and climate change, where Europe had been in the lead with the Solana report. And yet someone inside the External Action Service has clearly decided this is not an issue. They don't have resources for it. They don't want to carry it forward. I think it's the role of parliamentarians and Parliament in general to say, why? Justify your decision. Why do you not think this is important? That's what parliaments are there to do. And I'm absolutely confident that Elmar Brok on the Foreign Affairs Committee and Ingrid Tarrant and others on the subcommittee on defence and security will pursue this, and we will get some action. But that's what you have a parliament for, to act when you feel there's a mistake being made. And in my view, there's a mistake of historic proportions that's been made in not pursuing this subject as rapidly as it should have been.